From the 1011 Now Alert Center, this is Morning Pulse.
Good morning, this is Craig Allison with your Morning Pulse for Thursday, February 12th, almost the weekend here. But before we get off into our local news headlines, let's get that question of the day for you. Question is, global surveys show figure skating and ice hockey are the two most popular Winter Olympic events. What's number 3? I thought the answer would be obvious at curling, but all of my coworkers this morning said snowboarding as their answer. Turns out the answer is ski jumping. So if you missed that, like all of us did on the morning crew, be sure to head over to the 1011 Facebook page. Be sure to put in your guess. We read off your guesses as well as the answer on 1011 this morning, every morning towards the end of our show. That being said, let's get you our top 6 stories this morning from our morning show, starting things off with a new update from an incident that happened early in the morning. Lincoln Fire and Rescue crews battled a porch fire at a Northeast Lincoln home early Thursday. Fire was reported just after 2 a.m. at a home near 65th Street and Baldwin Avenue. A 1011 reporter on the scene said smoke could be seen rising from the porch and crews were actively working to air out the house. Now, we do have an update coming that we got just after our 1011 this morning show. LFR spokesperson MJ Learman says the fire started underneath the front porch and the damage was contained mostly to that area. Investigators are still looking into what caused the fire, but no one was injured, fortunately. Home suffered $20,000 in damage, and around $2,000 worth of items inside the home were also damaged. The Red Cross helped relocate the family, which was made up of 2 adults and 4 children. But LFR adds the family will be able to occupy the home again quickly due to minimal smoke damage inside. Now, we'll keep you updated if there are any more updates to give, but that being said, we did just receive this update sometime after 7 a.m. this morning, so this is the latest. But if there are any, be sure to head over to our 1011 Now News app. Your second story this morning, an update just with everything going on in this case that's been at the lead for quite some time. What started as a search for a missing pregnant woman has turned into a major homicide investigation in the Lincoln area. Now, investigators into the suspected murder of Hannah Neville and her husband Roberto Tanner have resulted in the arrest of half a dozen people. The faces you're seeing on your screen are suspects in the case. Let's break down what we know so far. Tanner's half-brother, Sterling James, and his wife, Sadie Titus, were already charged last week in the couple's murder. Officers now telling us they believe he brought them to an area a few miles north of the property at Northwest 27th Street and West Alvo Road in Lancaster County on January 15th before shooting and killing them. This is where other suspects come in this case. 40-year-old Sheena Miller was one of the 4 arrested. She's accused of helping move their bodies and driving Hannah's car back to this house. 3 others, 47-year-old Amy Mitchell, 57-year-old Kendall Hawthorne, and 28-year-old Matthew Licklider were all taken into custody, accused of being accessories to the murder. We managed to speak to a neighbor who's lived in this area for about 10 years. He wanted to remain anonymous, but here's part of what he had to say about living next to the suspects.
I've always suspected something was going on there. Like, you know, your gut's never wrong. It's just a gut feeling you get, and I'm not surprised really by any of the stuff that's unfolded there. Yeah, it's unfortunate. It's a pretty quiet little neighborhood.
Now, as a reminder, human remains were found during search efforts last week. Police have still not released their identities, but investigators believe they are Neville and Tanner. Autopsies were scheduled for yesterday. 4 new suspects, though, are set to appear in court for the first time later this afternoon. Now, you may be thinking, this is a lot of moving pieces. It's making your head spin. Don't worry. Head over to the 1011 Now app and our website. We break down this full story that we have been following for quite some time now. It is a lot of moving parts, but we'll be sure to keep you updated as well as those 4 new suspects set to appear in court later this afternoon. Your third story, and also happening today, Nebraska Secretary of State Bob Evnen is set to release the state's voter registration list to the Department of Justice. This comes after a judge dismissed a lawsuit filed by Common Cause Nebraska trying to stop Evnen from releasing that data. The group then filed an injunction to prevent the release, but that was also denied. DOJ has cited several federal laws saying the information is necessary to ensure states maintain accurate registration lists. Common Cause claims this is a violation of a Nebraska law protecting data privacy. Now for your fourth story out of central Nebraska, actually not central Nebraska, illness is going around at Shelby Rising City Public Schools. This is quite a peculiar case. The district is reporting about 30% of its student population called out sick on Tuesday, forcing the school to close its doors. From pre-K to 12th grade, 113 students called out, and SRC will be closed today as well. They're taking this time to disinfect classrooms, hallways, and common areas, but we'll be sure to keep you updated in this very peculiar illness going on. Fifth story, you probably don't think about what you flush, but local health officials do. This is probably a good time to set down the breakfast if you're listening into Morning Pulse this morning. They're tracking measles in Lincoln's wastewater after detecting the virus 3 separate times. Testing for diseases started in 2021 for COVID and was later expanded for other respiratory illnesses like measles. This is how it works. Samples are collected every 30 minutes, 3 days a week at a wastewater treatment facility and sent to a lab in San Francisco. Health Department uses Wastewater Scan, a no-cost organization, to test and receive the results about 3 to 5 days after testing. Now, here's why the Health Department says testing is critical to community health.
When you detect a signal, kind of puts up your feelers for it, makes you think about it. So we'd send out like a HON to our healthcare providers so that they make sure that when they see certain symptoms, they're doing proper testing, and to remind them about testing.
Now, if you want a closer look at what's being detected in Lincoln's wastewater, you can find up-to-date results on our website or 1011 Now News app. Now, wrapping things up with your final story this morning, coverage of Our Town Lexington continues this morning. We're putting a spotlight today on a source of pride for many people in town, and that's the pride of the Minutemen High School Marching Band. When band director Chad Scharf arrived at Lexington High School about 28 years ago, there were around 67 students in the high school band. Now, there are nearly 250. Pride of the Minutemen High School Marching Band has quite the following in the community. Band members get excited when they talk about how Lex fans follow them to competitions and cheer loudly for them at contests. The director says there's a wide variety of reasons why the band has blossomed throughout the years.
From day one, we just approached it more like a smaller school in that we like athletes to be involved in our band. We like kids that are in speech to be involved in band. And so we just kind of developed this atmosphere where we worked with coaches, we worked with all kinds of people in the community to make it accessible for our kids. And there's a lot of support from the community as well as administration and staff. And I think that's why it's grown to what it is.
Now, if you're watching Morning Pulse this morning, just take note from that interview clip there. So many chairs in that band room. I don't know if you've ever done band in middle school, high school, or wherever it might be, but that is quite the following there over at that school. Now, coming up later this morning on Pure Nebraska at 9 a.m., we'll hear more about the band and how even though members come from different backgrounds and cultures, when they put on the uniform, they all lock in step as one. That's going to be your Morning Pulse for this Thursday morning, and we'll wrap things up with a look at your 7-day forecast before tossing things over to Brendan Rector with the full rundown.
Good Thursday morning. Meteorologist Brandon Rector with you in the 1011 Severe Weather Center. We're going to begin today partly to mostly cloudy across portions of southern and eastern Nebraska as well as northern Kansas, but the bulk of today is going to be mostly sunny. Our south winds becoming north and northwest at around 5 to 15 miles per hour. Clouds look to increase a little bit as we head into tonight, maybe even a few sprinkles possible in southwestern Nebraska as we make our way through this evening. Temperatures at noon look to be in the upper 40s to mid 50s. By 4, we're in the mid 50s to low 60s, so it should be warmer than what we had yesterday afternoon. And at 8 this evening, temperatures will be in the upper 30s to upper 40s. In Lincoln for today, warming up into the upper 50s this afternoon, 20 degrees above average for this time of the year.
From the 1011 Now Alert Center, this is Morning Pulse.